Well, it's Monday morning at 10 o'clock. How about that? Right on time. Um, and I am going to be doing relaxing painting for Dice and Dungeons. And this week, I actually have minifigs to paint. These are 4 Ulstein Grotfeld warriors. They're dwarves. And I had painted like 10 of these about a month ago. And I'll just show one to you. This is kind of the same color scheme that's going to be done. They're wearing heavy armor. And the technique that Nikki showed me was to paint all the armor brown, believe it or not, and then apply a thinned coat of dark aluminium to make it look kind of brownish and rusty. And it gives it a really good look. And it worked really well on these guys, and I hope it will work on these as well. The heavy armor covers almost all of them, and what isn't covered in heavy armor, like the gloves, is painted brown anyway. So I'm going to be painting a lot of brown on these guys. The face mask is they're wearing gas masks, and so those are kind of metallic too, except for the lenses, which you can see are painted a green color. And there's little bits like under the shirt and on the arms. It's the same thing here, like down there that you can see the pants, and there's kind of open areas like that, and around the elbows. That's painted azure. And so once the brown is on, and then the metal is on, and then the blue is on, the whole thing is washed with a dark gray wash. And that is almost all of the model, except for the beards, which are, and the lenses of the gas masks. So the beards get special treatment. These are going to be a little challenging because they go like down behind the guns. So we'll see how that goes when the time comes. And then the guns themselves, there's 2 kinds. There's like this sniper rifle kind of thing. I'll probably paint that, like the scope will be dark gray maybe, and the barrel will be gunmetal, and then some wood or whatever. These guys are holding what look like they're supposed to be flamethrowers, but they're going to be gas throwers. And they have these barrels on the back and canisters and stuff. So I'll play around with the weapons, maybe do a couple different metallic colors on it. I've decided I'm going to paint the barrels kind of like a sickly green and give them a green wash. I've decided that because, whatever. And then the little reservoirs down there, I might paint green as well, just so it looks like gas and not fire. But the weapons will be a little bit of a challenge. But initially, the important thing is to get brown paint on practically everything before overcoating it with the metallic, and then washing it after that. This is the color. I took notes last time and kept them. I took notes of what color this thing should be painted, and I kept the notes, so that was good. And I'm probably, based on my experience last time, I am going to wear, even though it's just a base coat, I might put on the, I don't know. My vision leaves something to be desired. Well, some of these things are going to be hard to paint. I'm just looking at it here and going, oh, how am I going to get the brush there? How am I going to get the brush there? How am I going to get the brush there? The answer sometimes is I have no idea. Maybe I can't. See how that turns out. I'm going to try to put the brown on. It's just going to go everywhere, okay, including on, just everywhere practically, except in a few spots where, you know, different color is definitely going to be there. Yeah, I'm just going to do that. Pick a good brush for that. I think I pulled out all sorts of brushes and just slopped them around here. This might be a good one. It need to get it into all the nooks and crannies, but I don't want a real tiny brush because otherwise it'll take forever. Okay, well, that's what I'll be working on today is these guys. And then the brown paint needs to dry. It dries pretty quickly. Start with this with the sniper rifle kinds of figures. I'll do these, this one, and then take them off, and then the gas thrower guys. And then get the metallic paint on. And that can go pretty much just everywhere too. Then I'll paint the blue. I'm going to not wash them until the beards are done and the weapons are painted. Because once they're washed, it's really hard to do touch-up. And so if like I'm painting the beard and it gets on the metallic part, I can, before it's washed, I can just repaint it. So yeah, so I'm going to do the brown, which is practically everywhere, and then do the metal, and then do the blue, bits of blue, and then I can do the beard and the weapons, and then I'll give it a wash. This is going to be the process. And I might end a little early today. As I've told you before, I'm dog watching. They decided to get up really early this morning and sort of went back to sleep, but sort of didn't. And what that means is that I'm kind of tired. And I'm not sure that the mug of coffee is going to help that much. So if I start to fade a little more quickly than usual, around noonish instead of around noon 30ish. Blame the pups. Usually I talk about stuff before, until I use up like a half hour. But what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to show you the progress I've made on the Savoia. In case you weren't here last week, is I've managed to assemble a good deal of it. This is and it's like every model I'm doing nowadays has been a cutaway kind of thing, it seems. Where Porco, I'm going to have to glue its head on just so I'm not disturbed by the decapitated sitting down Porco Rosso. So yeah, the machine guns are in. A lot of the canopy interior detail is done. I got all the little bits installed and they haven't fallen off. Kind of cool. It's been washed and it looks pretty good. The base looks good. These bits form like a canopy over the canopy. They go across the top here. But I can't assemble them until I get the instrument panel done, because if I did, I wouldn't be able to install the instrument panel. That needs to go on before these parts are attached. And this is the instrument panel bits in here. And one of them is just decaled, and the other one is has instruments embossed on it. And I'm going to try to paint that and make it look really good. We'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to show this to you. I think I definitely A quality, maybe not A plus, but it's a solid A. I'm quite pleased with how that's all turned out. It's just unless you knew what you were looking for, or if you went back and watched all of the old YouTubes of the part prep and everything, you wouldn't think it was that much work, but there was a lot of effort in there, largely having to do with sanding down parts so that seams didn't show, and test fitting them, and then little detail painting and that sort of thing. So those of you who build models, I'm sure some of you, you build models that are way better than what I did. They're A pluses, right? Not just A. Yeah, you're aware of how much time it takes just to get a tiny little piece ready to be put in place. But this is Porco Rosso's plane, and I want it to turn out excellent. I want it to be really good, even better than the Apollo, and even better than the submarine. Yeah, there was a lot of work with head magnifiers and tiny bits of paint and things falling apart and having to be repaired and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting to do that. And the instrument panel is going to be a real challenge in terms of detail painting, but I hope I'm able to make it look good. I'll be happy if I'm able to do that. I've been doing this stream for feels like forever. It must be almost 2 years now. Could it possibly be that long? Yeah, probably longer. I've been doing minifigs and then done some dungeon tiles, and then I did a Fink that nobody remembers, but I think is really cool. A Fink Eliminator, a Big Daddy Roth Fink. I wonder. I don't know. The Porco Rosso plane is going to be taking quite a while. It'll be spring before I finish it. There'll be interruptions in the stream and holidays and all sorts of stuff. And I've yet to finish the Apollo, and it's really, really close to being done. I just need to get the instrument panel appliques put together. I don't know why I haven't done that. I have to put it on my to-do list, I think. I really need to do that, and then I'll get it done. Okay. Usually what happens when I'm doing this is that I end up missing spots. I don't know how I am able to do that, but because, it looks like I got paint everywhere. But then I go back and look at it under the magnifier, and lo and behold, there are spots that aren't painted. So anyway, I will be doing my best to get paint on every surface. I really am not feeling like wearing my head magnifier right now. So I'll take a chance on this. Part of it is rotating the model too. Because I don't know how many times I've said that over and over again, right? I keep after all of this time, I'm going to end up repeating myself because I don't have anything else to talk about. So, what can I talk about? I was going on about the Mickey Mouse Club for a while and cartoon superheroes and whether, in fact, whether they met the criteria for being heroes at all, much less superheroes. I'm hoping there was some controversy about that. There. Oh yeah, I've talked about vacuum tube industries. Beard, it's going to be painted brown. I will be using the head magnifiers when I paint the detail. Okay, like the beard and the weapons and stuff. So if I paint something that shouldn't be painted brown, then I'll paint over it with the appropriate color. But what's most important now is to get the base coat on everything that needs to be base coated. And it's just fine if the base coat gets on things that shouldn't be base coated. It is just fine because they'll get painted a different color later on. It doesn't help if I can't see these pants get painted azure later. It looks like there's it's not very exciting, is it? Everything's just getting painted muddy brown. It'd be good if I could think of something to chat about. Having used up the Mickey Mouse Club, I should paint the gloves. I need to paint the gloves. And this is okay. This is pretty relaxing because it doesn't matter if I get paint slopped onto places where it shouldn't go because I know that I'll be repainting it with a different color. And this isn't the same sort of I need to do an A job on the painting as the Savoya, because although these guys are going to appear in our show, I'm painting something that if you watch our Dungeons and Dragons show, you'll see these guys. But the thing is, they're going to be on a battlefield, and a camera will be pointing at them, and you won't be able to see the detail that well. I mean, you'll be able to see that there's a beard and a weapon, and there's some blue on a few spots and things like that. But it's not like the Savoya model where someone might shine a bright light at it and look at it from 3 inches away and say, oh, look, there's a little spot of paint that isn't where it's supposed to be. This isn't going to be like that. So I don't have to be quite, I can be more relaxed about it and not quite as a word I can't think of. But, you know, the word I can't think of, which means really detail oriented. Okay, that guy's there. This one's pretty much the same. I'm going to start at the bottom and work up just for some variety here. I did say that what I should do is watch some episodes of the original Mickey Mouse Club. Why isn't this light on? No wonder it's so dark there. The ring camera light wasn't on, and it's actually very helpful. I mean, there's a lot of lights all around me. There's like 6 fluorescent tubes and 3 spotlights, and that's still not enough. Whoa. Okay, well, what I just did wasn't the best thing in the world. Is I was talking about the lights, and so what I did was I looked at them, and then got really after image there. Blinded by the light, kind of, actually. There's detail on here that I don't know if I'm going to bother with. I don't think I did on the other one, did I? No, like it's got a belt. No. If I were doing a display model, okay, like if these guys were going to be put on a shelf under a bright light so people could see them, like when you go to a hobby shop or a game store or something, they've always got these professionally a display case with professionally painted minifigs and stuff, and you look at them and go, how could anybody do that, you know, in a reasonable amount of time? And the answer is, well, they know what they're doing and they got the techniques nailed and that kind of thing. And so for them, it's just what would take me 3 streaming episodes, they get done in an hour. Nicole is kind of like that. You know, she knows what she's doing, and so, you know, with something together, it takes like 15 minutes, and then it takes me an hour. Anyway, what I was starting to say and then wandered off is that if you go to a hobby store or something and they have a display case and bright lights on it, professionally painted minifigs, that isn't what this is. Okay, these are not display minifigs. These are to be used on the show, which means that they will be seen at kind of a distance on camera, right? So you have all of those reductions in fine detail. You know, the distance, you got the resolution of the camera. the distraction of the show going on, because when these guys show up, it's going to be in combat. So people will be paying attention to that. That kind of thing. So the necessity to I could do B work, even a B- on some of these in terms of some of the detail and things, and they'll still look good on camera. I think I've talked about that before. Like if you ever have an opportunity to see movie props, like the real props that are used in a movie, I mean, sometimes they're really they're not that good. They're made out of foam, plastic foam, and spray painted. And when you get up close to them, you say, this is pretty shoddy. It's not really impressive. And that's because they're not designed to be like display pieces. They're designed to look good on camera. And sometimes things that look good not on camera, but in real life, don't look very good on camera. For whatever reason, because of the lighting or angles or something. Or colors, things like that affect the way they end up looking on camera. And so sometimes props are like intentionally done so that they don't look that great when you're just looking at them, because they're designed to look good on camera. I guess that makes sense, right? Okay, this paint is there. You can see it's all very brown. It's not dry. It is drying. Hi. Yeah, I'm painting some minis. They have guns. Yes. How did that happen? How did they happen to have guns? I don't know. Our DM is going to have to explain this. These guys that look like they're holding flamethrowers are actually shooting poison gas. So these are gas projectors. No, I think one of there was a gun that actually did show up as canon in our show. Our DM created this thing called Fervent Tech. I don't know if you've been watching it all, but there was an inventor ages ago who discovered powers of crystals. Basically, they're radioactive, and was able to capture the power of them to like run water pumps and light cities. And one of the NPCs had a Fervent Tech powered gun. But why these guys have guns, Alexis is going to have to explain that in the show. I don't think there was time travel. I think, what I do know is that these guys, these Ulstein Grotfelds, had collected it's just the way the model is put together. I'm just painting it, so I don't know the backstory. But what I do know in the backstory is that this clan, this dwarf clan, had been collecting this Fervent Tech stuff for a long time. And the backstory might be that they developed Fervent crystal powered projectile weapons. I know that Alexis designed these guys. She took kind of a base model and modified it. So they would be, I don't know, this will be these will appear in an episode sometime like in the January or February of next year, I think. So I can't explain that. These, I think, actually make more sense in that they would use a fervent crystal or maybe even just like compressed air or something to shoot gas, poison gas out. I know that's what I've been told that these are shooting. They're not flamethrowers. But yeah, Alexis is going to have to explain that. Why do they have projectile weapons? Because the only one that we've seen in the game so far has been, I think, what the captain or now the Commodore had one. But the whole fervent tech thing and the fervent crystals has been part of the game for a long time. One of the very, very first adventures that we had was going into a cave where a fervent crystal was located, and we had to fight some guys who were trying to steal it. In fact, I think it was this clan were trying to steal it. So I'm guessing, I'm just guessing that the backstory is that they've somehow modified a fervent crystal to make a projectile weapon. Thanks for popping in. And thanks for checking in on our stream yesterday. That was very much appreciated. I saw you in chat, but anyway, I didn't respond because I was watching it on my phone. And haven't just, I don't know how to explain it. You'll probably can understand. If I'm watching something on Twitch on the phone, I can't get it to do two things at once. So I couldn't respond in chat without like going off into some other app somehow. You know, my wife and I mean everybody around me, you know, is really into these smartphone things, and they're using the apps all the time and so on. And I just haven't spent the time, and I have no interest for some reason. Maybe it's because I'm an old fuddy-duddy or something. I have really no interest in learning how to use the capabilities of this phone. It's like I have better things to do with my time than to figure out how to make my phone do something that I'm really not interested in doing. And so I haven't. I'm confessing by, oh, that's a good word, isn't it? Fuddy-duddy. Huh. Oh, yeah. It's enough to be everybody's father or even grandfather. It's people understand them. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. My great-grandfather doesn't like to play with the phone either. Kind of like that. Anyway, my ability to do things on the phone is severely limited, and that's by choice. I'm able to do important things, like I can still make a phone call. You know, I know how to talk on the phone. That's kind of a cool thing. I can do texts. I learned how to do text messaging. I even recently was told that I need to learn how to put GIFs into my my texts, because there's a whole social protocol thing about stuff that's in text messages that can be easily misunderstood. Apparently, I was sending some texts that were being easily misunderstood in terms of, you know, the emotional content. I was given some lessons in the appropriate syntax, I guess, of text messaging, and what to an old person would simply be an innocent inquiry is like an insult to people who use them frequently. Yeah. So part of that reminds me of, I don't know, I think I've talked about coming up with quiz shows for people over 65. Quiz shows like that used to be, they used to show. Or is he still alive? Or are they still alive? You know, you were there with me. Don't you remember? The one that I really want to do is, why can't they just use words? Just trying to get brown on everything. This is base coated almost completely brown, and then a thinned metallic is put over it to make it look kind of like rusted armor. And then the detail is painted, and then there's a brown wash that goes on it to tone everything down when it's finished. How far this one's going to be a real beast to paint. Kneeling down, and so all the surfaces are underneath some other surface. I might end up, I'm going to have to remember to do this one first when I start painting the detail, just to get it out of the way. And then when I put the head magnifiers on, to paint the detail, then I see that I missed spots with the brown, and I have to decide whether to touch them up or whether I just try to deal with it when I put the wash in. Sure. Sometimes I surprise myself with, how could I miss that? Like the whole back of a foot, maybe, or the inside of a leg or a sleeve or something. But this one's definitely going to be a pain to paint. I mean, not right now because I'm just slopping brown paint on it, but when I start painting the details on it. Fortunately, because these are showing up in our show, be able to I'm going to get away with doing B- painting on, getting the base coat on parts of these is to be a pain. Why didn't she just print another one of the standing up ones? Why? Yeah, they can't get there from here. Portions of the painting are, my least favorite parts. The Savoy is coming out really well, though. I've been taking a lot of time trying to make that look like A quality work, and I'm so far successful. I'm hoping the same is true when I start painting the fuselage, the outside of it. That's painted a bright, glossy red, and any flaw in the plastic is going to show. So the prep work on that is going to take a while. If you've been, the prep work on that model has been, like almost all of them, taking a lot more time than painting itself. That's definitely can't get there from here under the arm here. I probably shouldn't worry about it. Okay, if you're looking at it on, if it's on camera, it's going to be like this, and yeah, you already played a session, didn't you? I'm glad you're on. I wanted to know, which version of the character did you play? Because I saw that you made one look like a chef, and I thought that was pretty fun. I don't know if they'd let you play as a chef as a fighter, or maybe you could kind of switch out. And how is the game going? Especially since you're not a DM. That must be quite a, oh, okay. Well, that needs to be fixed. There's just a thread there that wasn't from the 3D printing process. It just needs to come off. It's right on the back of the foot. And it won't show, I'm sure. No one will ever know it's there, but I see it, and it's annoying. So I'm going to chip it off. Okay. Yeah, it's your camp clothing. That's cool. So when you're in camp, does your character actually cook for the party? Have you made that part of your character activity, of your character persona? Because that's good, because you're carrying it with you in all of the other versions. A ham actually could be, you're a level 30 cook. Holy cow. So have you, I have to ask this because you've watched some of our stream. Have you made pretzels? Have you made pretzels? And if you did anyone have a pretzel day? That is, there's a flaw in the helmet. Okay, this guy needs a little bit of, you can make everything. Do you, so you're a fighter, not like a wizard. I know. So how do you find it being a player as opposed to a DM? Are you enjoying it more? Or are you like second guessing your DM all the time because you're so experienced at it? Just curious. Overnight. When will you be able to do that? Of course. Yeah. Well, having been a DM yourself, the kinds of things that a DM would find most challenging. or annoying, depending on the word that they would prefer to use. So I bet you're pretty good at that. So are you? Okay. Well, right. So as you're playing the game, I'm going to just ask about how much role playing you're going to do. So when you pick a subclass, are you just going to say, "Oh, I'm level 3 now. I'm an Eldritch Knight. That's the one I'm picking," or will you like role play a training session, like going to a master knight and getting some on the job training, that sort of thing? Curious about that. And it's pretty good. You've gone through an entire session and the DM hasn't tried to kill you yet, or maybe has tried but not succeeded. I can't remember what I'm doing here. Oh yeah, I'm going to be painting an overcoat pretty much on everything that's brown, except like the gloves. I'm going to try to not put the metal on that, but if I do, I'll retouch it with the brown later. I put a thinned coat of aluminium paint on the whole thing, like you can see here. Okay, and that makes it look metallic. But the brown undercoat sort of shows through, and then the dark gray wash will tone it down. But that's why the armor is kind of brownish looking. It's because of that technique that Nicole showed me. No, you're absolutely right. It's not very much different reading a recipe than reading a spell book. My experience with cooking is that it's almost exactly the same thing. Following a recipe is like doing magic, and sometimes you get amazing results. It is magic, especially baking. Baking is like that, especially. Or sauces, complex sauces where it's like, why are we throwing 8 different things in here? Each one has its own distinct flavor. What are we doing? But it has been and continues to be a surprise to me that mixing flavors makes for a better flavor. It's like putting cream in coffee. My tendency in cooking is a lot like my tendency in painting minis, I have to say, is that it's like clean lines of separation, not very much layering, that kind of thing. But then the really experienced people know that if you put 8 different spices together and you get a flavor that's not like any of them. But when you cook in real life, do you do complex stuff? So the last time you had a weapon was when you were like 19 or 20 years old. Oh, okay. Well, sometimes people have skills at one thing and not another. I don't mind cooking that much. But wow, it's just like this too. Everything feels like it takes a long time, even if it doesn't. You know, like prepping vegetables or measuring things and things like that. I've actually said, "Wow, this is taking forever," and then I sat back and counted out. I timed it, and it was like, this took 23 seconds. Why am I complaining about how long it took? It was not even half a minute. So why have you not had a weapon in your hands for 30 years? Were you trained as a fighter and gave it up to focus on cooking? Or were you never really a fighter and you're picking it up, you know, as like a second career later on? I'm kind of curious about how you're doing that. I wonder if this is, yeah, this is this professional way to test whether the paint is dry or not. don't, don't do that. Um, you know, anybody who knows anything knows that that is not the best way to test whether paint is dry, because then you leave splotches all over your model. Look at that. Look. I told you, right there, right on the. I mean, I just looked at it once, and there's a spot that I missed. That's just amazing. Truly amazed at how I can do that. It was right on the back too, like the second easiest place on the entire model to paint, and I missed it. It's that it is what it is. That's why another one of those we don't talk about it, huh? That's what. Oh, yeah, you said that. You said that in your post that we don't talk about it. Okay, I have to say, I know you didn't intend it, but becoming a cook and head on a plate, okay, just I have to chuckle at that. Didn't want you executed, wanted your head on it. Ooh, yeah. Okay, I'll stop. Um, okay, I think that's a good backstory. Thanks for sharing. And you know, having something that you don't talk about is very convenient because then you don't ever have to talk about it. Of course, but you don't talk about it. And now you're going to have to go through like 50 sessions, 50 D&D sessions where everybody's curious about the thing that you don't talk about. And you're going to have to keep saying, we don't talk about it. That will be, that will become your idiom. And you have to be very, very careful. Yeah. To never, ever talk about it. Ever. In fact, you should insist that you don't even talk about talking about it. Then all of the other players can speculate. They can talk about it. What could it have been? Could it be this? Could it be that? And then they'll ask you specific questions about whether it is or isn't, but you'll refuse to even talk about it. I'm trying to remember. This says my painting instructions say well, of course, you know what it is because you did it. or didn't do it, but you don't talk about it. And if somebody guesses right, you have to make sure that you don't let on that they did. This says that this should be thinned. It already comes out really thin. You could spend endless hours not talking about not talking about it. That, I mean, as yeah, that could be pretty fun. Instructions say that this should be thinned. No, I don't remember what I did. I don't think I thinned it with isopropyl alcohol because that's going to dissolve the paint underneath. That would be bad. Maybe a tiny bit of water? I don't know. What could go wrong? It'll just end up drying slowly. That is a lot of fun. How many people are in your group playing? It's just some airbrush metal color, and I'm doing an overcoat on top of the brown, and it's supposed to be really thin. And when I did the other one, it said thinned dark aluminium paint. Oh, nice sized group. I hope everybody's really into the role-playing thing, because that's what makes it most fun, is that when you get together and you become your characters, right? So I hope that's the case. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, what happened was that it doesn't work. It's yeah. We tried again, but I think it's too thin. And in some ways, yep, I used water because otherwise it would have. It is actually working. Yeah, the water was the right choice. And it's not too bad. I thinned it a little too much. But it's doing what it needs to do, which is to make it look metallic. But the brown is showing through just fine. This is one of those, it just needs to go everywhere kind of situations. Yeah, it's kind of looking okay. It's supposed to look kind of like rusty, and it turned out all right. So okay, that's pretty cool. So the DM is really being challenged in a way, at least until they get to know your characters. Huh. Yeah, that's really interesting because I know sometimes what happens is the DM wants a balanced group and provides guidance to the players as to what they should do and what their capabilities should be and so on, so that the party is balanced. at least as far as the things that the DM is going to want to do. But that's a challenge to the DM too, as you come into the game and they don't know what they've got. So did you as players know what you were before you all met? I mean, did you as players discuss what you were going to be ahead of time? Or did you just discover that when you met each other in game as characters? Was it the only two? Because one, yeah, of course they had to because they were speaking. That is incredibly annoying. Uh-huh. Of course, it's a bard. So was the DM annoyed by that? They should have been. I'm just making sure most of it is silvery. The only two. Okay. Okay. So you're okay. I can imagine how that goes. So the bard talks to their bodyguard, but you can't respond to it, even though you heard the bard talk to their bodyguard until the bodyguard conveys the message, and then you can't respond. That'll be fun in combat. Okay, it's really fun playing with experienced players like that. I'm guessing that they are. Okay, so the bodyguard character, okay, is they are really having fun in this game. That's pretty cool. I bet they conspired to come up with that combination, right? I like that approach. It's one thing where it makes sense because there's a need for translation, okay, and one has to speak through another. But it's really a different contrivance when it's just one character refusing to speak directly to everybody else. And of course, whoever is playing the bodyguard is just having a blast. Oh yeah, does the bodyguard ever misrepresent what the bard is saying? I bet that's a possibility too. That would be kind of interesting and fun. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I didn't know what copper pieces were. Should have told them that those were the most valuable coins in the realm. They need to be hoarded and treasured. Good performance check. That's those are always the best times to roll nat 20s, is when it doesn't much matter at all in terms of gameplay. But in terms of the development of the characters and the role playing is really cool. So I think that's hilarious. Didn't see copper before. Maybe everybody was just like poor and they only had copper coins, except for maybe one silver that they hoarded back in a crock at home. Especially if they were a noble. Really? That is very kind and thoughtful. The bodyguard did, or the noble? The bard paid for it all? That makes me rethink what kind of character this really might be. Instead of being just insufferable snob, might really be a nice guy. Or maybe just showing off. Sometimes that's the case too, is that they're really not being kind or generous. They're just, showing off their wealth. Part of their persona. I guess you'll have to see how that plays out. But yeah, when you get it, that's when I've enjoyed D&D the most. Is not, just like one quest after the other kind of thing. Those are fun too, or one battle after the other. But really getting into character development and doing the role playing stuff, I've enjoyed becoming my character. And trying to keep that consistent through the game. And it sounds like you're with a group of people who really are kind of experienced role players and enjoyed that part of it as well. This just looks, I mean, it's coming along okay. You can't really tell too much about how this is going to end up looking. But the watered down metallic is coming out okay. It's going to take a while to dry because it's water, so it's not going to dry as quickly as if it were just the solvent. But the rusty look, I mean, the brown is coming through as an undercoat, and I like how that is. It's actually better than the first batch I made. And yet, it's shiny metal, and yet that's showing as well. The first group that I made, like the first dozen or 10 of whatever of these little stained Grotfelds, were pretty fast because the only real detail on them, that needed a lot of attention were the goggles, little green dots on the goggles, right? And the beards took the most time. These, because of the nature of their poses and the weapons they're carrying, are going to be a little bit more challenging. I'm not even, I know the gloves need to be brown. I'm going to just come back and repaint those. because it's just easier to slop this on and then worry about repainting parts of it later than trying to preserve it now. Yeah. I know, and when I did the other ones, I was careful and I didn't paint the gloves, and then I just need to do a little touching up, but whatever. I have to decide what order of cleaning up on this I want to do. I think I'll paint the azure parts first, the tiny little bits like around the elbows and the under the metal skirt thing here. Then I'll repaint the gloves. Then I'll anyway. Eventually, it'll get done. Oh, I was. Yeah, this came out okay. You know, the metallic didn't overcoat it, and the browns kind of still shows through. I think it looks okay. What I was asking for was, you know, when you said he paid for the food and the beer, I'm assuming the bard, not the bodyguard, that the bard did that. So if that assumption is correct, I was wondering whether that was actually a gesture of goodwill and the bard wasn't really just a supercilious ass. I can say that word right on a PG show because that refers to an animal. Wasn't really that, but was really a good guy, or whether did it as a gesture of, look, I am so rich. Oh, of course. That the bard would actually interact. Okay. Whoever's playing that character is really playing it to the hilt. It's pretty funny. So was that a gesture of generosity or just showing off? It seems to me that the bard was just showing off. Look, I am wealthy. I am paying for your room. Aren't I great? As opposed to, yeah. Yeah, whoever's playing that character is going to have a great time with it. Well, whether it was an act of generosity or an act of just being a jerk, I hope you enjoyed your noble rooms and your dinner. Motivation doesn't affect the quality of the things that were purchased. Yeah, that was the motivation. And I suspected as much. But when you're out and about, that bard will definitely come to appreciate your cooking skills when you're out in the middle of the woods and they don't have their private chef and everything else. Oh, at heart is good, but just learned how to be a jerk. Sometimes it's just the way you're brought up. You don't know any better. It's just that's how people are, right? Okay, I'm resisting the professional way of testing to see if the paint is dry or not, and I failed at the resistance. But there it is. It's coming along okay. Yeah, it's quite silvery, but it still has the brown undertone. So I think that worked out all right. Maybe a little brush for the rest of this. I'm only going to go until about maybe noon today. Maybe, I don't know. I was saying at the beginning of the stream that I'm doing this dog watching thing, and they got up stupidly early today. They went back to sleep again, but only after, waking me up. Oh, okay. The warlock hasn't revealed themselves yet to the rest of the party. You're going to have to the barbarian will speak when it's necessary. I kind of understand that as a person and a player, is that sometimes there are just way too many words. I use 10 words when 2 will do. So if the barbarian is that type of person who uses words to communicate essential things and not just to use words because you have them, that might be kind of fun. So when will everybody else find out that the other player is a warlock? And do you have any idea how that will be revealed? That will be an interesting sort of thing. That's not the color. That's not the color. Oh, it's blue, not green. That's the color. Yeah, one of those. I let my axe speak for me. Why not? That's a really good persona, isn't it? My weapon does my talking. You can use all sorts of movie and TV cliches and things as that kind of player. Yeah. When speaking, always like 99% of the time use cliches like that. That would be kind of interesting. Okay. So if you get into a battle, then the warlockies. Oh, okay. Are you all coming in as level 1? Is the party even that way? Just starting out fresh? Yeah, that's good. I hope your DM doesn't make you wait for like 57 sessions before you level up like Lexi did with us. I don't know if it was that one, but it sure felt like that. It felt like we were playing for a year before we got to level 2. And then we had a sequence where we leveled up between like 3 and 5 or 3 and 6 or something really quite quickly, but it's been a long time now. Did you meet? Of course, you met in a tavern, right? Because the bard had to put on a show. So there's you, a bard, and the bodyguard. Is the bodyguard playing like a fighter or something? And you have a barbarian and a warlock. Okay, that's a good party. Hmm. Of course yeah. Nothing like the basement of an old church. Maybe you'll meet a bunch of like undead and risen skeletons and stuff in the basement of the church, or maybe you'll just run into some evil clerics. That could happen. That would be an interesting battle. Is I never thought of that. That like instead of maybe there'd be monks, I suppose, but just like a cabal of clerics at the basement of the church. Or maybe you're crashing a bingo party and it's all full of people who are upset because they lost track of which numbers were called. So, do you have a healer, or do you just are you going to be dependent on potions? Oh, your bard. Your bard, if they care to, could do healing spells, right? I'm going to put this on. I'm going to be painting the. This is the azure, and there's parts of it that like under the armor skirt here, and in the elbows. Those two spots, the undergarment shows through. Well, hi. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Since I have a new follower, I might give a plug to Dice and Dungeons and explain what this is all about. Um, yeah, so Dice and Dungeons is a group of family and friends who have been playing and putting on a Dungeons and Dragons show for a really long time. Um, Hopefully, you've been following in chat. Ollie Brager is an experienced player and modeler. Make sure to catch their stream. Glad that I don't have to do A+ quality work on this because the first brush stroke I managed to mess up. Nice. Ah, okay. Is that another thing you don't talk about? Is why you had to abandon your tavern? I think your character should just have a whole passel of stuff. That's a good word, isn't it? A lot of stuff that you can't talk, that no one can talk about. Then you could get a nickname. Who is this? This is we don't talk about it. Everybody's on the run from something. Maybe everybody in your party has something that you just don't talk about. You could spend endless hours around a campfire at night not talking about all these things you can't talk about. I'll spend endless hours trying to get paint onto the spot that I can't reach. Okay. So you're all leaving something. That makes sense. You're all leaving something and you met on a wagon. So I'm painting these minifigs that are going to show up in our Dungeons and Dragons show sometime in the not too distant future, sometime in the next month or so. Wearing these head magnifiers because I'm old and I can't see. Trying to do, these are going to show up on camera. So I'm trying to just do an adequate job of painting them as props. But there's some detail, like the bits on the elbow where the cloth undergarment shows through, that kind of thing. That makes fun. That's really good. I hope you teach the noble snob some life stuff sooner than later. You'll know you succeed when they actually say something to you, I bet. This azure paint only goes on under the pants here and on the just above the elbows. The rest is all covered in plate. It's okay. Not great, but okay. I should have done the hardest one first, but I didn't. It's one of the ones that's drying over there. After I'm done painting the detail on these guys, this is just some of it, the under armor here. The white azure, it's kind of an odd color maybe, but that's the color of their house or clan. It's kind of their signature color, this light blue color. Probably came out pretty well, I think. Okay. It makes sense that the bodyguard would be a fighter. Or maybe just, acting like a fighter. Hmm. Have you checked out the quality of the weapon and armor? I'm just asking. It might be like stage quality rather than real, given the character of the bard. That their bodyguard would also be like a pretend character, kind of pretending to be something they're not. That would be quite disappointment when you get into combat, is to find out that the bodyguard is kind of useless. Hopefully that's not the case. Chainmail shouldn't be that loud. Good sneaking, though. So my character, I don't know if you watched any of the early episodes, I'm a furbog fighter. And I was wearing plate, and whenever we were sneaking anywhere, like roll a 4 or 3. I rolled a lot of 3s in our campaign. And so as soon as I had a chance, I bought some elven boots of sneaking. I'm not sure what the real, I mean, they are a real item in D&D, some sort of elven boots that give me advantage on stealth rolls. And I think adds 1 to the check or something. But then as I leveled up, I put all of my skills into stealth. So I now have expertise in stealth. And I've also got a set of heavy plate armor. And so it's kind of funny that I have a plus 11 to my stealth checks with advantage. And so I'm a 7'8" or 8 foot tall furbog fighter wearing plate mail. Oh, no kidding. Congratulations. You know, things are like that. They're kind of exponential, aren't they? That when people start watching, they tell other people, and then that's fantastic. Congratulations. You're very much deserving of that kind of attention. I appreciate that. I am very happy for you. 20,000 is a big number. That's very impressive. What isn't impressive is being able to get paint under his butt here. I'm going to have to yell at Lexi for making a kneeling down figure like this. Painting this particular pose is difficult. So you went from like 10,000 to 20,000 in what, a month or less than a month? Well, you got in the might and magic. Okay, that's kind of a big deal, isn't it? I played that game. Well, I'm just not good at it, and so never really got into it. But I know that some people that is a really big thing. A lot of people play it, and it's a big social thing too, right? Getting together and playing the game, collecting the right cards, getting the best deck. So it makes sense that's kind of exploded because you got into that group. Well, congratulations on that, though. That's quite an accomplishment, getting a huge following like that. Hopefully they'll get on to and enjoy the rest of your work as well. They really should. They should learn to appreciate the other stuff that you're doing. promotion of our little site is always really appreciated, especially when you've got that many subs. Ah, okay. Wait. Oh, I know that. Ah, okay. The board game. Sorry, I got it confused with the card game. Heroes. I think I used to play that game when it first came out. It was a computer game. Um, yeah. Okay. Thanks for reminding me. I had forgotten about it. I played like the first two or three expansions. If I remember correctly, it's a turn-based game where you go through a map, you accumulate resources. Um, put together an army of different characters, and then there's a turn-based combat system where if you run into another group of NPC enemies. Is that the one? Oh, thank you for the new follow. Hi, and thanks for joining in. I am painting some miniatures that are going to show up in our Dungeons and Dragons show. These are a group of dwarves called the Ulstein Grotfelds. I remember playing that when it first came out. I was like addicted to that. I'm sorry, I totally missed the reference to this thing I used to spend hours and hours and hours on. And then it's turned into a board game. I didn't know that. So it's a board game, and it's played with a okay. Because the game I played on the computer was it was a solo game. Right, one just played against the computer generated monsters. Absolutely new. Okay. If I knew I wouldn't be wasting whatever is little left of my life on something like that, I would probably take it up again. So there were seven versions. I know I played the original and maybe 3 expansions. There was like a fire mage or something in one of them. I can't remember their names, which is kind of sad because what I remember is you could play both sides. I think I remember that correctly. That you could play with this main character as your enemy, and then you could go back and play as that character in the early versions. So I think there was one with green dragons. Boy, I'm trying to remember now. That really brings it back because it was in the 90s. Which is now 30 years ago. Oh my. Yeah, that's why I don't remember it that clearly. I mean, I remember playing the game for hours and hours and hours. And it was always a challenge to like play it and then replay it to get a perfect score or a higher score or not get killed. But I remember it being one of the best games out at the time. Now that you reminded me what it was. Oh, yeah, I got it confused. I remember the thing. I got it confused with Magic the Gathering. Because they both have magic in it, in the title. You know. So why wouldn't I be confused by that? So there's a board game out. Okay. So there's okay. So they're making a board game, but then a whole passel of miniatures to use as you play the board game. Kind of like Warcraft. I mean, I remember painting those too way back when in the 90s, where the game was based on miniatures that were sold and painted. I did Orcs and Goblins. Nicole, who's part of our D&D group, did Lizardmen. Those are kind of fun. And we spent all of our time painting the miniatures and hardly any time playing. Oh, yeah, there was always a hero that, that's right. I'm remembering it now. There was a hero that led the group. So you're investing in all of these and painting them online then on your stream? That will attract a lot of attention. Congratulations on that. Good move. I don't suppose there's a big following out there for Ed Big Daddy Roth Fink models, is there? So there's 10 factions with 10 miniatures each. That's only 100. One magic, that's good. And then 7 different creatures. So you're going to be spending a good long time painting all of that. And since it's fairly new, so you're probably like unique out there in terms of having a stream that is featuring this, because it's only been out for a short period of time. Nice stumbling into that. That was great. Not stumbling into, but finding that audience. Congratulations. Yeah, that happens with base sets, doesn't it? That happened with the Warcraft base set too. There was this gigantic box that had orcs and goblins, elves, and lizardmen in it. There were 3 factions, which made sense because there were 3 of us in the family who were interested in doing this. That's how we ended up getting dozens of Warcraft stuff that we hardly ever played. You're not going to be doing all the factions on your stream because some are already getting painted, or are you going to do dupes? Okay, I did the blue part. What have I got? Oh, the little goggles. I should put the little goggle things in. Just so you can see it on this guy. There's they're wearing a gas mask with goggles, and they're painted bright green like that. And if I can find that color, I'll stick those little dots. Stick those little dots on. Oh, I found it right off. Okay, so you're going to paint all 10 factions yourself. So they come in like sets. I remember the old Warcraft stuff you bought after the base set. It was like one figure at a time. So I bought this big dragon, some little squigs. There were some special characters, goblin characters that I remember purchasing. So I imagine like the heroes are sold as an individual item, but that the 10 miniatures in each faction maybe come as a set. Just wondering how that works. Whatever it is, given your explosion in your viewership, it's a good investment, isn't it? Okay. The odds of getting this right are relatively small. Yep, got it all over the place. I'm going to have to repaint the goggle frames there. Those got... Yeah, that didn't work very well. Okay. That makes sense. That the base set would give you enough really to get going in the game. And then as you got into the game, you definitely would want the expansions. So does each expansion also come with a hero, a might hero, a magic hero? Yeah, that one didn't go too bad. I got the goggles green on that one without getting it everywhere, unlike the first one, which was that one. I got 100 times more paint than I needed. Holy cow. There's always, right? There's a big box with everything. But I don't know, is it discounted compared to buying everything individually. Sometimes when you buy it all together, it's less expensive than buying all the bits separately. Okay, well, I only need to touch up the one. Okay. Try to fix this just right away. Let's see, what have I got left on these guys? The beards. Need to paint the beards. The when I did these guys, I painted the beards, each beard a different color. So there's some blonde beards and some red beards, a brown beard. What should I? Oh, I'm gonna wimp out a little bit and paint the gloves. There's some spots that needed to be touched up. The gloves are just leather, so I'm just going to repaint them this brown color. They'll get washed over a little bit later. These. They're actually coming along a little more quickly than I thought they would. Decide what to do with the beard. See you in a bit. For those of you who have become new follows, thank you so much. No, really, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. And Lay is gone. I'll just explain that Dice and Dungeons is a group of family and friends, and we run a Dungeons and Dragons show. And the show streams on Twitch with a live chat on Sundays at 2, and all of the prior episodes are available on YouTube, or you can listen to them as a podcast. Either way, they are really good. I have to say, we put on an excellent Dungeons and Dragons show. And I'd encourage everybody, to at least go onto YouTube and check out an episode. And this stream is like just a little spin-off of the show, because it started out as this is where the dungeon tiles and minifigs for the show got painted, like what I'm painting now. And then these show up on the show, and one has had the opportunity. Oh my! There's a whole section. Look through the. Well, that's not going to show up on the show. There's a whole spot under here that I never painted metallic. And as I'm touching up the gloves, I'm finding that and going, oh my, I wonder if I should try to fix that. The answer is, yeah, probably. I'm going to give it a go. It's under the arm here. Doing it, I just didn't. I had it on the stand, and so I didn't see it. Yeah, so this stream is all about just started out just doing dungeon tiles and minifigs for the show, dropping things, breaking things, and when when there weren't any to do because we had all we needed, I started painting some models, and I did a submarine and a Renwall submarine from the 60s. I mean, it really was a vintage kit that I did. And an Apollo, which is almost done. An Apollo stack that includes all of the components of the Apollo. Command module, service module, lunar modules, ascent and descent stage, and the escape tower. And that was going to actually be finished relatively soon. I'm just waiting for a special detail thing to be finished. The control panel inside the command module that wasn't part of the model that I'm fabricating myself. But I haven't done that yet, so it's waiting for that. And then I'll go back and finish the Apollo and show it off. And the other one I'm painting now that I'll be going back to next week is the Savoia S21 Porco Rosso's plane. Welcome back. Touching up the gloves. Yeah, I'm going to keep going for a little while yet before I fade away completely. I'm a little sleep deprived here today. And I need to paint beards. And what color should I paint them? I think I'm going to do an orange beard. Why not? Just going to get a little wash on it later. I'll do an orange beard, maybe a little darker color, maybe a red one. Orange beard and scarlet red, if I can find it. Yeah, that's a good color. And then just a brown one. A brown. Any other beard color that you'd care to see? I'm not going to do black. I'll just do one the same color I did the undercoat with. Okay, these are the beard colors. Here we go. Beard colors. Arbitrarily applied to beards. Oh, I already have this color out. Why not? Yeah, the beastie brown. Why not use it first? Everything looks so much better without the magnifier. Beard is his beard is kind of covered with its arms. Oh, hi. I am working on minifigs for a Dungeons and Dragons show. This is they just got printed on the rosin printer. They came off Friday afternoon, and I primed them, and now I'm painting them for a show. And these particular guys belong to a group called the Ulstein Grotfelds, who are trying to kill us because we stole some stuff from them. And well, yeah, we also kind of blew up their castle. I mean, there is that too. So they do have a reason to be upset. And they are carrying weapons that are maybe kind of anachronistic, I guess, for Dungeons and Dragons. But the situation is that in our game, there's this thing called fervent technology. A guy named Fervent, that's why it's called fervent tech, right? A guy named Fervent discovered these crystals. This is the backstory in our game. Discovered these crystals, and they, in modern terms, they would be like radium. Okay, they're radioactive. They put off energy, and the Fervent discovered these crystals and figured out how to contain the energy, and so it's been for useful stuff like water pumps to keep a city on the shore of a lake dry. Lighting, city lighting. There's been a lot of that. That kind of thing, heating and cooling. So it's sort of like non-magic magic. Really, would you be upset because I stole your precious possessions and sort of blew up your castle? I guess, yeah, it could be that way. Anyway, these aren't really good guys anyway. They're bad guys. So there, it was fine. We didn't really intend to blow up the castle. I just have to say that our, our group, just things happen around us. Towns get set on fire. Just these things happen, and it's sort of unfortunate, I guess. But anyway, yeah, they're after us because of that. But they have been stealing this fervent tech stuff. And it's, like I said, it's like non-magic magic. So it can be used to power things and that apparently includes weapons. So we're going to be facing them in a future combat. I know that that will happen because that's what this is. We'll be facing them in a future combat, and they'll be wielding these. There's some projectile weapons and poison gas throwers. It's not going to be pleasant. But I suppose you're right. You know, they do have a reason to be upset with us, even though that they're the bad guys. Well, not all the damage was intentional. The heist was. The heist, the stealing, well, we call it heist, doing a heist. That's different than stealing. It's heisting. That was intentional. The, the blowing up, it just happened. We were trying to get away after the heist, and it was meant to be a diversion, and the diversion just was. It diverted more than we really needed it to. I'll just put it that way. So, anyway, yeah, they have a right to be upset. And now they're hunting us down. They're in the process of like fomenting a war to forward their own political ambitions. Oh, I should do that. Maybe I should put a cork in it, right? A cork in the end of each one. Oh God, that would be. Actually, I should get little corks and just do it. I could, right? I could get like little mini corks, and they wouldn't have to be permanent or anything. I could just stick them in the ends so that they were obvious, so that the DM could see them. And then after she got all pissed off because I, sabotaged the weapons, they could just take them off and attempt to kill us anyway. But that would be kind of a fun thing to do. But they have to be kind of comical. I mean, for it to work, not so much on the show, but pre-show, that kind of thing. They have to be like comically large corks in the ends of the weapons. Maybe I could use some of this orange sticky stuff and just make a little ball and stick it on the end of the weapon. What's that? Well, it's a cork on the end of the weapon. I might just, if I remember to do that, I think I will. That's just a fun thing to do. These beards might be washed a color different than the. They've got these little rings on their beards. Those are painted azure, but it's after the washing is done. It does strike me as something that would just be a fun thing to do outside of, kind of in addition to or outside of the game. After I paint the last beard, just boring brown. Thanks for joining in, Ole. Enjoy dinner. Congratulations on the huge growth in your YouTube subscribership. Those of you who have become followers today, thank you so much. And I'm going to talk about Dice and Dungeons a little bit more before I wrap up today. Unlike the thing that says it'll be from 10 until 2, I'm just running from 10 until 1 nowadays. I changed the schedule because it works well. I was going from 10 until 2 and taking a break from like noon, and then the breaks just kept getting longer and longer. And then I didn't get anything done after the break because it gets cold down here, and I got tired. So what I'm doing is I'm starting at 10, and I'm kind of running usually until noon. I'm not sure if I'll make it until noon today or not. We'll see. It's going okay. But yeah. What was I saying? I just lost my train of thought. Yes. So I might end, but I'm going to be finishing at about 1 from now on. So the schedule for this is 10 till 1-ish. Okay. Depending on how it's going, whether I start losing focus, whether I get too hungry and have to stop. Kind of thing. But these miniatures are going to show up in our D&D show as main enemy, but can I say it? One of several enemies that we have made inadvertently in our adventures. We just, we're trying to do the right thing. We go on mercenary missions. We tick people off, including these guys, and then we have to deal with it. So these are a group of dwarf families related to the dragon families. Kind of a royal noble family, but not a very nice one. Kind of they're not really bad, but they're not good, and got engaged in kind of a civil war over succession rights and that sort of thing. We got caught up in it. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of what was going on with these guys. And this is a group of 4 that I think are bodyguards of kind of the main character. So I'm going to take a real quick stretch break here and show you our dungeon tiles. I like to show these off because they're so cool. We make our own dungeon tiles for our show on the PLA printers back here, and they've been tweaked and modified and arranged in all sorts of cool ways by our DM. These are simple rough stone dungeon tiles. These are printed, base coated, primed, base coated, and then the little detail stuff put in. But the cool thing about our dungeon tiles is that under these plates are ball magnets, and so they stick to each other, and then they come apart, and then they stick to each other, and then they come apart, and one can rearrange them quickly. like that. These are originally designed to have like little tabs in them, and you can attach them that way. But then we discovered that, yeah, that's fine. It holds together, but then you can't get them apart and put them together as easily as this. So that's a really cool thing that she actually invented, kind of, and installed in dungeon tiles. And we have, these are good for like warehouses and taverns and manor houses and things of that sort. They're also kind of fun to paint. So they're base coated in kind of a light brown color and then washed to bring out the detail of all the wood grain that comes through on the print. The prints actually work out really well. The wood grain shows nicely. And then, so we base coat them and wash them and then paint the stucco. And yeah, they take a little while to paint. Our dungeon tiles also have cool features like operating doors, pin hinge, so you can, if your character is going through a door, like into the next room, depending on which way it opens, you can hide behind the door here, like that. Open the door, and if someone comes through, you can go, gotcha, or hey, I didn't know you were there, that kind of thing, if they were friendly. So those are some of those. And then we have other really cool features, like, let's show you these. This one is part of cut stone, and you can get sigils, like this is a fire sigil, there's water sigils and earth sigils, the 4 elements, and then those get hand painted on. I thought I made up this color combination myself. I thought it came out really pretty well. And then you have things like this cauldron, and there's a little magnet in there and a magnet in here, and you can say flame on. Boom. You put the flame in, and now you've got a fire in your cauldron. Or you could have a tile like this, just an ordinary rough stone dungeon tile, nothing much going on, but the DM, being mean, says, you have triggered a trap. And there, magnet there, flame comes out, it attaches there. So see how this rotates? It's held on by a magnet. And it's really kind of cool because you can actually do this in the game. Okay, if this is hidden from the players, they wouldn't know that this was a trap tile because it looks just like all the other tiles until they trigger it, and then the DM can reveal it, and either a flame or a gas cloud or something comes out of it. So those are, and they all have the magnet attachment feature. And this stream started painting all of these things like this. And in the future, if we need more, we'll have more. We have sewer tiles, we have woods, different color wood, and all sorts of cool stuff. Can be made up that way. I guess I'm going to start. I'm going to start painting the weapons. I've got like a half hour left. I might end a little early today, but I just wanted to show you that because that's how this show started. The stream started as doing the dungeon tiles and the minifigs for our show, because the show is the main feature and this is just a side quest. The other thing I'm working on, which I'll be working on when I'm done with these guys, is the Savoia S21 Porco Rosso's plane. And I've been working on the interior of it. I've got most of this completed. And then I'll be starting on the body of the plane after that. Oh, I shouldn't forget something to look forward to. There's a bullet. You can see it's to scale, right? Bullets are pretty big. This is a mature bullet that has been infested with a fungus. And this, I've done a fungus monster before. It's kind of this scheme. It's painted kind of a buff color underneath with red veiny things. And then the spiky stuff is painted yellow with green veiny things. And then it's got these oozing sores that the DM, just was put in. And those are all have to be painted so that it looks all nasty. And there's a couple that need to be reattached. Some of these spikes are fragile. So after I'm done with the Ulstein Grotfelds, I'll be prepping this. There's just little spots, little bits of plastic that are adhering, some, little strands here and there, priming it, and then trying to paint it to look scary and oozy and gross and very, very dangerous. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're actually starting to look like something now. So what should I don't want to spend a huge amount of time painting these weapons. Okay. So I'm not going to do too much detail on them. I think I'll paint the scope black. I should paint some of the weapon wood, but then it would just blend in with the brown of the gloves. So why not gunmetal, right? What better color for a gun than gunmetal? Yeah, the black is out, so I'll be able to use that. I'll put these back on here. Rotating this really cool rotating. There it is, paint holder that our DM created. Once the weapons are painted, I'm going to be doing a dark gray wash on this whole thing, just to cut down on the shininess and make it look more like this. I'm not going to be putting a lot of wash on it, but there'll be a transformation from this to this. Okay, you can see the difference there, and the wash, kind of pools up in some of the creases and just brings it to life. So that will be done next, and then on the few where the beard band shows, I'll paint that azure color. It doesn't show on all of them, but on some of them it does. I need to put these back on. After I paint the gun and the scopes, I'm not sure how much further I'm going to be going today. I'm starting to fade. I didn't get anything to eat this morning. I woke up too early. Dogs got me up. So there's not a lot of I'm doing with the weapon here. I'm just going to be painting it this gunmetal color, and then when I do the wash, I'm going to wash this as well to just kind of tone it down a little bit. The model will look better once this is painted because I've got little blots of paint all over the place. I want to paint the scope this color too and then overpaint it rather than skipping it. Like I said, I'm going to paint the scope black just so you can see the scope is on there. Yeah, this is good. After it's washed, it'll have a very different appearance from the armor. I didn't want it to look the same as the armor. That was my major concern here, is that there be some distinction between the gun and the armor. That's the spot under here. The stock of the gun. I'm just going to paint that in the same color. This isn't a display quality model. This is a prop in our show. I keep reminding myself of that this is a prop and needs to be painted like a prop would be painted, which is, pretty good, but not the kind of thing that would show up under scrutiny if one were to look at it really up close. That there's enough detail on it, like the beard shows and the little bits of cloth armor underneath the main armor. Give it a wash so that some of the detail, some of the texture shows up better later on. Paint the scope so that it doesn't just disappear in the gunmetal color. And that's the kind of thing I'm going to do with this. The other ones, the ones down here, are carrying gas discharge guns. They look like, I think she used a flamethrower model, but they're supposed to be shooting out poisonous, noxious gas, I think. So I'll have to see if I want to use this gunmetal on them as well. Maybe some other color. I'm not sure. I'll decide after I get these done and I take a look at them. And dark gray wash goes on all of this, covers up any sins, any mistakes. Check that out. I'm going to make sure the top is painted. This metallic is the armor was painted with an airbrush metallic, and it's the little metal bits in it are way finer. This is actually looks sort of like glitter compared to the armor, where the little metal flake that's floating around inside of it is way finer in texture. So definitely would need to have a wash so it doesn't look just like glitter, which it kind of does. Sure that I got it covered enough. You can't really see the bottom when it's going to be on camera, but you never know. They might just like fall over or be suspended or something. Okay, I'll let that dry and then I'll come back and touch up the scopes. But yeah, it looks like something now. It's not too bad as a minifig. Let me look at these. Yeah, these really need to be painted to gunmetal too. There's a little more detail on them, and then they're carrying these barrels on their back. I want to paint those green. After I'm done painting the base coat on these gas thrower things, these will definitely look better when they're washed. Definitely look better when they've got a gray wash on them. They've got this little tank on it. And I'm going to paint that a different color. Let's see if I can find kind of a ghastly, icky green color. Try to find. But otherwise, this, I could do it, if I were doing a display model, there's a whole bunch of stuff on this weapon, like the indentations here up at the front of the barrel, that could be painted a darker color. I'm going to just count on the wash seeping in there, making it look darker. I'm going to count on the dark gray wash to bring out some of the detail of this weapon, rather than trying to paint it in. Like I said, if it were a display model, then I would definitely be taking more time painting the front of the muzzle different, dark, so on. But it's not. It's not a display model, so I'm going to take some shortcuts and just use the dark gray wash to do that for me. I'm making an effort, though, to paint the whole thing. Pretty easy for me to miss spots. Let me get this one. This is coming along pretty quickly because, unlike the Porco Rosso plane, I have to try to get A+ quality detail painting, where if there's little flaws in the plastic, I don't have to sand them down and polish it. Probably finish these. I'm going to finish these on Wednesday. There isn't that much more to do. So what I might try to do is I'm going to prime the boulette between now and then so that I can start painting there. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here. I'm going to stop painting after I get this on. I said I was going to paint the scopes on the other rifles, but I lied. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take a little bit of time at the end of the stream here to do some cleaning up on the boulette and mix a little bit of epoxy and reattach some things that had broken off so that I can prime that between now and Wednesday so I can start painting it Wednesday. I can finish these and then start on that. Yeah, there's just enough time to get that done. All right. So what will be done with these next is there's this tank on the bottom here. Okay, holding the noxious gas. I'm going to paint that kind of a sickly green color. I'm going to play around with the barrel. Those are pretty prominent, so I want to make those look pretty cool. This whole thing, all of it, gets a dark gray wash to tone it down and make it look more like... Okay, yeah, that's a good sign. That's a time to stop when I start knocking things over. So it changes it from this kind of shiny to this kind of shiny. Okay, you can see how the appearance changes for the better. Dark gray wash on all of that. So the tank on this and the barrel, the scope on these rifles, those are little details that yet need to be painted on Wednesday. Wash on everything, and then paint the bases so that so it looks finished. Hi, Ole. Oh, that was a quick dinner. I hope you had a good dinner. So I'm just reviewing. I'm going to finish the detail on the gas tank for the gas blower things. Dark wash on this whole thing. Paint the barrels. I'm going to take these off because I already knocked one over. And I know if I knock it over, one will bump against the other and two gun barrels will break off. It'll just be that way. It's just what will happen. So I don't want that to happen because that would be unpleasant. What I am going to do is prepare the boulette, the infested boulette, for priming by getting rid of, just doing some cleaning up on it. Okay, like there's little support bits under here. Need to come off. There, like that. You know, the little strings you get from your rosin printer that you don't want on there, that you hope you can break off without busting the whole thing. Or this, yeah, that's a real distraction there. I'm going to get out my, I'm going to get out my Microsaw for that. That's a really, it's a highly visible spot, and there's a lot of plastic on there that isn't just popping off. I'm going to saw it off. There. And then then I can pop it off from the bottom there. I'm going to clean these off. I'm going to mix a little bit of epoxy. I've got a mushroom, a little bit of mushroom stock, and some more spikes. Some of these fungus spikes to glue back on because they broke off in the process of moving from one place to the other. I'm going to epoxy those on, and then this is going to be ready for priming. And then I can start painting it on Wednesday after I finish the dwarves. The paint scheme, I'll show it to you in just a bit. The paint scheme is this. Oh, these are not, I can tell those are support structures and not part of the model. It's just the way they're molded on. This little mini saw is one of my splurges on my no-budget show. And it's really proven to be useful in things like that, where something has to come off, and an X-Acto knife isn't going to work without breaking something. So that was a useful purchase. So this is an infested boulette. Why it's infested, I don't know. But the infestation is something that seems to happen with disturbing regularity in our show. There's another support right next to a spike that I don't want to damage. There we go. But, you know, when you're messing around in the sewers, we keep running into these things like this, you know, where the mycelium starts creeping up from the base and climbs up into their body and takes it over. So the same sort of color scheme is going to be happening here, kind of the beige with the red streaks, and then all these spikes will be yellow with green on it. And then it's got festering sores that are either going to be painted red with black ooze or black with red ooze. I don't know which, one or the other. But here's an extra spiky thing, and here's an extra little mushroom growth. And I'm going to epoxy these onto this. That is not enough of a contact point. I need to take that off. I'm going to just sand it off. I'm going to use the 5-minute epoxy. Stinky, but 30 minutes. Could also use contact cement, which would be much quicker. I think maybe I will, because then it grabs right away. Just grabs right away and doesn't, there's no messing around with it then. All right, there it is. Clear. Put a little of this on one end, a bit on the other end, touch them to each other, and they are stuck to each other. And sometimes, you know, it's very thick, it'll leave a blob. But in this case, it's not a problem because, I mean, it's infected. A little bit of highly viscous contact cement on the bottom of this. And now I need to find a spot where I want it to stick. So what on here looks like it needs to have a spike where it doesn't. There's even a little indentation there, just inviting a spike of whatever this is that's growing on it. This will just grab hold right away. And now it's stuck, which is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to hold it. If there's this extra cement, I can just scrape it away. Okay, where do I want to put this little mushroom thing? It's a cute little mushroom. Yeah, that's just too small. That contact point is way too small. I'm going to sand it off. Some of this on. Hopefully I can get it to adhere. The contact, I really like working with this contact cement because it does that. It grabs right away. It gives me a little bit of time for repositioning. If there's too much excess, I can scrape it away pretty easily. Some modelers really like to use super glue, cyanoacrylate. I cannot. I simply can't because it requires getting things into position way too accurately, way too quickly, and I can't do that. I just don't. I think I want to put this little button guy up here. I'm going to put it in a place where it's going to be really hard to paint. Why not? That's the danger thing. Oh, there's another thing I need to take off. Good thing I rotated it. Is these little spikes are fragile, and as I move my hand over them, I have bumped into them several times, and I'm just waiting for the moment when I bust one off. Not that it's hard necessarily to reapply it, but I would just as soon not. This is a boulette. A boulette is a real Dungeons and Dragons monster. It's in the monster manual somewhere. They live underground, and as you can see, this is actually to scale. They're big, and I think in lore, essentially impossible to defeat. I have no idea why I'm making this. Can't be good, because not only is it a boulette, but it's infected with fungus, and so it's like doubly dangerous. It's going to be pretty cool looking, but it's not something that I really want to meet in our show. But if you keep watching, you might see us run into it. Maybe what will happen. This is the fantasy thing here. Yeah, maybe what will happen is we'll meet it, and it will be in agony because of all of this infestation. Sorry, there's a support sprue here that I don't want to just snap off because it'll snap everything else off too. I'm cutting through it. There we go. I cleaned it up. Maybe we'll run into it, and it'll be in agony because of the infestation, and we'll be able to cure it. That's it. We're going to cure it, and it will become a friend. Or it will just attack us, and we'll have to figure out what to do. But yeah, this is a bullet, and it's badly infested with mycelium. It's got all sorts of weird spiky things growing on it that I'll be painting, and it's got festering sores, so it's really in bad shape. But yeah, maybe we will. Maybe we'll be able to cure it, and it will become a friend, and then we'll set it on its way. Or not. I'm going to be wrapping up now, and then trying to clean up. I'll be back on Wednesday at more or less 10 until more or less 1. Congratulations, Ole, again on doubling yet again your number of subscribers on YouTube. You've gone, I think you've gained almost like 15,000 in just a month. That's truly incredible. So congratulations. On Wednesday, I'll be finishing these guys. I'll be doing some little detail on the barrels and the weapons, just a little bit, giving them a nice wash to tone them down. The shininess anyway, and then painting the bases. And between now and then, I'll prime this beast so that I can begin to do the mycelium infection, like this kind of standard thing. It'll be this bigs. There'll be a lot of painting involved. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for the new follows. We'd appreciate it if you let everybody know that this is kind of an interesting and boring thing to do, to watch. So followers are welcome. YouTube subscribers are very welcome. Patreon.com/DiceAndDungeons is an excellent way to support our Dungeons and Dragons show. And another way to support it is simply view it. Watch Dice and Dungeons, Dungeons and Dragons show on YouTube, or listen to it as a podcast. I hope you enjoy it when you do. But it's time for me to sign off. I will be back on Wednesday at about 10. I'll go until, I don't know, until 1 or until I just get really tired or something. I'll try to think of something for a monologue that has to do with the 50s and 60s that, you know, I remember and you don't. See you then. See you on Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.